CPR icon is in the upper right hand corner. The CPR function refers to curved planar reconstruction, whereas we're taking the curved dental arch and reconstructing it so that we are getting a pano image and measurement. Now, let's pick a section. There's actually two methods that we want to demonstrate on how to perform the CPR function. First of all, let's start with the maxilla in this case. So we're going to come to the coronal screen, grab our horizontal pinkish red line, and move it up to a section in the maxilla that we wish to start at. Now remember, the CPR is going to be active to the screen that is the axial projection. So let's just say we pick this section. Then we come across to the CPR icon. Notice it lights up as CPR. We're going to left click it, and it maintains that same axial projection. It's now at this point we're going to come in and we're going to hold the control key down on the keyboard. By doing that, we get a little arrow, and it looks like a little light bulb appears right there, the little light bulb icon. And we're going to use the left click of the mouse. And we're going to keep each individual seed, green seed, about 10 millimeters or a centimeter apart. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is with the mouse, left click of the mouse and the control key held down, we're going to left click the first green dot in position. All right? Then we're going to work our way around the arch. So the next one is going to be approximately 10 millimeters apart. Left click the mouse, go up around the arch on the right side, left click. Perchance, if we make a mistake, there's two ways to correct that. We can left click right on the green dot itself and move it back in position. Okay. Now the other way of doing that is if we release our control key. Now let's say we want to delete this last point. What we do now, instead, we're going to hold the shift key down. So by holding the shift key down, we are going to click on the point we want to delete and left click that point, and we have removed it. You can continue to do so if you wish, just by holding the shift key down and left clicking that point away. Alright, now once again here on the right side we're going to continue around the arch by holding once again the control key down, the icon with the little light bulb. We're going to go around the arch sequentially like this, sort of dropping in the middle of the ridge between buccal and lingual ridges, and go all the way around the arch. Okay, and leave the last green dot outside the volumetric circle. So that will be our ending dot right there. Then we remove the control key. All right. So here what we have is a representation. Here in the images, we're going to have a panoramic image that's drawn out with its subsequent distance, actually its thickness measurement icon here, and of course we get cross-sectional screens and a matrix on the right side. The pink lines, both in the axial screen and in the pano screen, represent the number of frames in the matrix on the right side. So for instance, the first red highlighted number is the number 1. That's frame number 1. And the last one will be 4, so 1 through 4. So these frames correspond to the frames here in the panoramic image and also in the axial as well. Now we could change the number of frames here. If you go up to this particular drop-down menu, if we click it down, we are going to see that we've got activated the 2x2, meaning 2 across, 2 down. Of course, that's 4. Now let's change it. Let's say we want 6 images. So we can either change to this format, 2x3, meaning 2 across and 3 down. Or if we wanted 6 in this regard, 3x2, 3 across and 2 down. All right, so that's whatever one's fancy is. Okay, so now we can scroll through the different screens. So to do that, we could either take the middle wheel on the trackball, pick any frame. It doesn't really matter which one you select. And by scrolling up very gently, we can see that these now frames correspond to what's selected here. Okay. Now to make these images larger, on this side we can just hold the middle wheel down on the trackball, move the mouse north, release. To recenter, right click, and you can recenter into the position, and that applies to all of the frames. Now to quickly go to the other side, you can simply, on the panoramic image, let's say we want to go to the left side. We bring the line here back pointing on the pano image. Once we got the line, the red line, we're going to left click it in position, and now the images are on the right. What number is highlighted? Number 92. That's always going to be your first frame. So that's 92 through 97. So these pink lines represent 92 through 97. And so you can get a cross section of what we're looking at. Again, I'm moving the mouse on the mouse wheel. I'm scrolling it up or down, and it's changing the frames. Again, each frame is going to be a millimeter apart. And we'll discuss that here in a little bit to look at the other section. Okay, so that is the way you can manipulate the images from frame to frame. Let's discuss a few of the icons in this particular frame that is related to the CPR function that we've already selected. First of all, if you look in the upper right-hand corner here on this frame, you're going to get an icon that says Visible Cross-Section Line. Looks like the back of a Ford Mustang light to me, only in green. Now, this is a toggle. It takes the lines off and on. Okay, so that's what all that feature does, takes the blue and the green lines off and on. Now, we have three other icons. If we take this same little icon here, it's going to show number of CPR lines. Okay, this is the number of 1 through 11. That's going to be the actual lines going from lingual to buccal ridge. So if we select it, we could change the number of lines. For instance, 11 is going to be the max, but we could scroll down with the menu down arrow. Let's say we go to 5, so you can select 5. So once you click OK, now you have 5 lines between buccal and lingual. Okay, so but generally we kind of keep it at 11 as a default, so you don't have to change it really as a suggestion. Now custom, you can create your own. Let's say you just wanted 7, so you type the number in 7, hit OK, and now you got 7 lines. That's buccal lingual. Okay, so you got 7 green lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now let's say you wanted to change the what's called pitch of the CPR lines, or simply the distance between them. The default number is 1. That is going to be usually 95 to 99% of the time. You don't have to change the number 1 at all. But to change that, if you wish, let's say we want to make it, let's say 1.5 or 2. What it's going to do is still going to keep 7 lines, and now it's going to change each of the lines 2 millimeters apart. Okay, so now instead of 1 millimeter apart, each of these lines is 2 millimeters apart. Okay. Now, the other section here is pitch of the cross-section line. These are going to be the blue lines. Each blue line is going to be the frames here on the right. So let's click this, say pitch of cross-section line. It's going to default as 1. And generally we tell you just leave it alone. It's not going to make much of a difference. It makes nice easy math too, that one frame is 1 millimeter apart. However, you can change that. Just for dramatic purposes, let's say you want 5 millimeters apart. I don't know that you'd ever use that, but just to show you, now the blue lines are going to separate to 5 millimeters apart. And each frame is now a 5 millimeter apart section. Okay, so that's how that works. So if we scroll here, we change it. You can see the number 4 is the first one. So between 4 and 5 is what? 5 millimeters. Between 5 and 6, 5 millimeters. Again, to change it back to the position, just go hit the icon here. You notice the blue outer edges, which be also indicative of the blue lines. Just kind of keep it as 1. You can custom if you want. I'd just say leave it at 1. Keep your CPR pretty nice and smooth and make nice linear sense with easy math. Okay? So that's how you can change these. Again, just go back to keep it at 11 for the number of CPR lines. Once you click OK, it'll hold it for the next position. The pitch, the distance of the CPR lines, keep them at 1. Suggested defaults. And then your measurement of the cross-section line, the blue lines, keep it at 1, which you already selected. Now, notice there's a center green line down the middle. Never scroll. Once you've selected it here in the axial, don't scroll the wheel in this frame at all. But come down into the pano image, come away from the blue lines, and notice the center green line is always in the middle between 1 through 11. Now if you want to change that, it's going to apply it to the panoramic image. So hold your arrow here, just gently scroll. I'm scrolling the arrow, scrolling the wheel down once, and changing it. Moved it toward the lingual portion. Okay, so it's applying it as well. Okay, and you can see the little green dot over here. Let's pick up tooth here. Let's pick this tooth. I'm going to left click it in. So you can see as I'm scrolling this down in the in the pano image, this green dot now is indicative that we're moving to the lingual portion, as you can see in the green line here. If you go the opposite direction, come down to the panel, do it in the black section of the panel, scroll up, and you can see we're moving back to the mid portion. And as we continue scrolling upwards, both here in the axial and over here, you'll see that we're more into the buccal ridge on this side here. Okay, so that's how you can scroll section to section there. We're using the buccal lingual, but do it from the panel screen. All right, this icon is for smoothing. Okay, if you want to smooth your CPR, you can smooth your CPR line just by clicking it. It smooths it a little bit for you. It's not a dramatic effect, but it smooths it somewhat if you wish that feature. The letter F is simply for the orientation box. You can click the orientation box off and on. I say pretty much leave it there for the foot projection. Here, this is reset. So if you want to reset the CPR, you could click reset, and you will reset your lines. Okay. And to exit CPR, just click CPR and exit. Now, just a word of caution here. If you want to reset your CPR, okay, and you go and hold the control key back in position, and if you hold the control key, again, you should see that sunshine, that light bulb icon. If you don't see that, sometimes what happens is the visible cross-section line. See, now I'm pressing the control key, and I don't see my little visible cross-section line or the light bulb. Go up to this enable visible cross-section line, click it once, hold the control key again, and then you're going to pop up your little icon that is related to CPR. Okay, so you're going to do that. So once again, you go across the arch, just left-clicking it, and you can end up in a section that you wish. Okay. Once again, in review, if you want to go to one section, let's pick this particular tooth. I'm going to left-click it in the pano, then I'm going to come across to the right and scroll with the middle wheel, and then you can see the pink lines are the sections that you have selected. All right, and of course you can perform your measurement functions here as well. Now, the pano image, this number 2, is going to be your thickness of the pano. One can change that. This is how. The thickness of the seat, there's two ways. You could change it by dropping this menu here, and you can pick a number that is already selected. Let's just say it's 25 for dramatic effect. So once you click 25 and say OK, now what the number 25 is going to be highlighted here. We're going to take a visible cross-section line off the. Now you've got your own little panel that you've drawn out. Okay. Of course, you've got to kind of create it in the upper arch. If we were to get if we wanted to draw our own panel, we could basically do it from the occlusal plane with a green line. But nevertheless, you get the idea of selecting that. You can also create this to a thinner amount by, again, either clicking the down arrow and select that, okay, or you can go to custom here and type in the number. Let's just say 13. Type in OK 13. Now this is a 13 millicut. Now remember, all this does is apply it to the pano image thickness. That's all it does. It doesn't apply to any other feature. Okay. The other way of doing it is just highlight this number in blue. Just left-click it, highlight it in blue, and type over it. Okay. Let's just go back to number 2 for 2 millimeters. Once you do that, bring the arrow down into field, and now you have this section here. All right. So what you're doing also when you're scrolling. See, when you're scrolling this screen, you're changing the buccolingual ridge, and you could change the buccolingual ridge from the pano image as well. So that's how that's done. Now let's reset this. Take the control key off. Let's reset this, and we're going to reset this pano. And now we can actually do one of two ways. We want to go down to the mandible. So we can either left-click it and drag this all the way down to the mandible, like that, and start our CPR, or we can exit and drag our line back from the coronal plane. If we do that, let's say we're going to drag it right through the mandibular canals. Here's the other method I want to teach you. So once you drag it through the mandibular canals, you could actually drop the green dot itself in the canal as it's going across. Here's how it's done. So what you've got, once you've selected this pink line to go across what appears like the mandibular canal, go to CPR function now. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to scroll the wheel upward. So here is the mandibular canal in this particular section. So we're going to start as far back posteriorly as we can see it. Okay, once again, hold the control key in, bring the control key in, hold it down. You're going to get this little hourglass, or I'm sorry, this light bulb appearance. They're going to left click the green dot. Left click it into position. Again, with the control key held down. Here is the little outer posterior edge of the mandibular canal on the right side. So we're going to left click it in. Now I don't see the section here, so what we're going to do is we're going to, the middle wheel on the trackball, I'm going to scroll it basically into the downward position. Now we see the next section coming in. So with the control key held down still, I'm going to left click it into position, right into the mandibular canal. Notice from the panel image it's starting to draw out already. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. Scroll down. Okay, there's the next section right here. Left click it in position. Green dot goes in. Scroll down again. There it is, right on through the mental foramen. We can actually click it right over the mental foramen. All right, now for the other side, we can continue on our merry way. Don't scroll or anything at this portion. When we get here to the left side, we can scroll up a little bit. Now we see this is the mental foramen. So we can kind of bring our dot right through the mental foramen. We're going to scroll up. Okay, or actually scroll down. Actually, I should say find the mandibular canal there. Go to the next section. All right, scroll. In this case, I'm going up. There it is again. I'm going to scroll. Find the next mandibular canal section. Scroll. We can't see anymore. All right, so here it is. If we just recenter it, going to right-click it very gently, apply the motion, and release. All right, so at 2 millimeter cut, we let our control key go. We have our lines both in the right and the left. Now, if you take the visible cross-section lines off, you get a nice view of it as well. See? So again, if you put the lines on, you could go to a section, maybe a partially edentulous section, and you could do your measurements. If you wanted to measure this section, let's say, just simply go to Measurement Tool, click Distance, and then come to the ridge, left click it, drag it down to the top of the mandibular canal. Okay, and you can find what the measurement is. You can double left click it to launch it by itself. Do the same thing, make it easier to see. All right, and so there you go. Now remember, as you do the math, you could back away 2 to 3 millimeters, so you can pretty much say I could put maybe a 12 or a 10 length measurement, whatever that you wish to do from your clinical expertise in that point. Okay, so remember you can also do cross section this way. So so now you know what section you can look at using the CPR function. To go back to the other screens again, to get back to the matrix, double click it, you go back to the screens. Remember, we can save that as a scene as well. I will demonstrate that too. Now, if you have the version where you have the orange dot here, what you could do is you could take, first of all, the visible cross-section lines off. Then you would click your orange dot. Now, it's not here because this is just a little bit later version. But you can left-click it and you can drop your orange dot into the canals here as you go. Okay. So now, if you have a version higher, what you have is this function here for implant planning. So you could actually click this. Yes, and so by actually clicking that, the implant function, you could pretty much use the Alt key. Let's take the left side here. Okay, so we can see the mental foramen, or actually the mandibular canal, I should say, very nicely. I'm just going to hold the Alt key down, left click it right into the canal, and go back to the axial anchor point, grab it. So we get a nice, beautiful view here in the axial and coronal and sagittal screen. So to draw a line in, what we do is we go to Planning, Edit, Mandibular Canal, hit New, and again, you're going to bring in your control key. With the control key held down, you're going to drop your orange circles along the lines. Okay, and here you can see as you drop the orange circle in that it is going to be selected here in the screen. Now, what you can do, if you wish, go back to CPR, and it should hold it in position. So if you put the lines back on, and one can see by this method that you have the CPR function. The icon is once that's selected, you can see that you've got your canal drawn in the mandibular canal. And again, one can see from the version where you do drop the mandibular canal, we do mark it with the orange dot. You simply go to the measurement tool here, go back to distance, and here you can measure from the ridge to the top of the canal itself. Just back off a few millimeters, whether you do it in your mind or actually grab the dot here, or actually measure the measurement here. And once you perform that, then you could go and perform your secondary measurement and give you an opportunity to know approximately how much of the length that you wish to put into this section here. So just whatever one wishes to do and use. So that's the beauty of dropping in the orange dot, marking the canal, and doing your measurements here in the CPR mode. And to save your work and to recall it, you can save a scene. And to do that, you come up to this little book here with a curved arrow. You can also right-click it too, but you click this, it'll save a scene. What you have to do is just type over the date here. So just type what you want to say, and here we'll just call it practice. Use a hyphen to separate it so you keep your gray icon filled out properly. Practice CPR, let's just say that. Okay. Then we're going to say OK, and that's going to save it to the patient list. To recall a scene, you go back to the patient list, press the update patient list icon, click your patient here. Here we find it in our demo list, practice CPR. Once we click it, then we can load it up and just kind of wait for it to load. And then you load up to the same scene where you left off, and you can further scroll if you wish. In other words, you can further do motion here and continue on, and your work is saved, so you don't have to redo that again. And plus, you can recall this in your operatory monitors or at your computer, wherever you wish. So it's a little bit of a time saver since you've already done the work here and you've already drawn it in very nicely. Once again in review, I kind of jump between the versions that have the implant and those that don't. So once again, to create your mandibular line, you can hold the Alt key down, go to Planning, Edit, Mandibular Canal, press New, and you can simply hold the Control key down, and you can come down and once again draw the orange lines in, okay? And you can, to edit that, again, you can grab the line like we did previously and move the green circle, or you can hold the Shift key down and left-click that and remove that. So either way works, and then we can continue on till we finish, and then we have our lines drawn in axial, coronal, and sagittal. If you wish to edit the lines in the coronal view, or in the in the coronal view, what you can do is scroll the wheel till you get to where you drop one of the green circles, and you can click it itself, and you can kind of drag it in and recenter it if you need to. That's another nice feature of this new software. And it's the same method for the other side. For instance, here we have the mandibular canal. Once again, we're going to bring in our Alt key, and holding the Alt key down, we're going to click right in the circle, remove the Alt key, go up to the anchor point, go across to the blue line. Now here, this patient has a very nice mandibular canal. Some of them are a little more challenging, but this is pretty easy to see actually. Hit the implant, and we're going to go mandibular canal, go new, and now we can create one for the other side. By the way, we could change the color. Okay, you click a different color if you want. Let's make this one red. Click OK, and now once again, by holding the Control key, we bring that in, and there's our little light bulb icon. Drop our green circles along the mandibular canal. You can correct it if you wish on the fly or later. Then follow it all the way out. Okay, and then remove the Control key, and then we have the other screens that we've got, and we can launch it and scroll through and measure here in the coronal view, or we can edit the lines as well just by clicking it and moving it into the cross sections. Okay, so that about does it right now for the mandibular canal and dropping in for CPR. Please play with it. If you have any questions, please refer to the manual. You can always call us, and we will answer your questions over the phone, or remember, we do Citrix GoToMeeting sessions as well, so feel free to make good use of that. Just give us a call or email and let us know what you wish to do, and we'll give you additional training on this as well.